What's up, fam? It's Keen Dog. We're in Spangled Gambler's Quarantine HQ, and in case you can't tell, it's a little bit weird. Anyway, before this week's episode, I just wanted to put out a call to all the boys to get these things done. We got to pay WordPress for server space. We got to pay Libsyn for the podcast, Upwork for editing, MailChimp to manage all the communication between them. So if you can, if we're giving you tips that are making you money, if you're excited by this content, if you're having as much fun as we are making it, check out www.starspangledgambler.com/support. That's our homepage /support. It's right there when you get there. And see if you can lend us your talents or a tip or throw us a few bucks to help this process keep going. We're going to keep churning out content. It's going to be great and we want to do it with you. Anyway, let's check out this week's episode.
Yo, so welcome back to Star Spangled Gamblers. It's Keen Dog. I'm your host. I'm here with Pratik, as always. You gonna say hi, Pratik?
Hey.
Looks like a nice day there. So this is really exciting for us. We've been trying to come correct with 2 episodes a week. We're going to try out a new format, and we've got an awesome guest. I was sort of expecting him to be like the Dwight Eisenhower or like David Axelrod of election prediction, but I guess we've got like the baby Mozart of election prediction, Sharko Rubio. You want to say hi, Sharko?
Hola, how's it going? Thanks for having me on.
Is that the face that anyone thought they would see when Sharko Rubio finally doxed himself?
I used to have a beard. Would that have helped? Would that have lent me more credibility?
Well, speaking of beards, you do actually have a more public beard, which is a lot of you follow the Twitter account Political Kiwi. And are you going to own up to it, Sharko?
Yeah, it's me. All those people, all those nerds on election Twitter who spend their time making maps and like analyzing 1950s elections. I'm part of that gang.
So I actually hate election maps, and this is your chance to tell me that I should enjoy them more as a recreational activity, because I'm like, I want to know what that big thing that's going to happen that's going to change things forever is. I don't want to know about like the incremental change that probably actually makes you money predicting stuff, but sell me on an election map that I don't care about.
Is it bad for me to just say they kind of look nice? Like it's kind of like it's kind of like a painting, but it's something you're interested in. Like, you know, someone could paint a fruit bowl, but I'm not really interested in a fruit bowl. I'm interested in the like 1990 Louisiana Senate election. So it's like it's just a cool visual. Like it doesn't really tell you anything.
Like, I feel the same way. Like that's like the ideas that people are arguing about, which is like my kind of pornographic, dumb, useless thing. So how you owe us an explanation. How does someone who looks like you, and by that I mean really young, know so much about all these random congressional districts overseas?
I think, well, if you have the like drive to know more about it, then you can pretty much know enough about anything where all the information is readily available, in the sense that it's all just on Wikipedia and readily accessible sites. But I would say there's a lot of time a lot of people spend in their lives where they just have downtime where they're not really doing anything. And for the last like 4 years, I've spent a lot of that downtime just researching elections and just committing that stuff to memory.
So since you were about like 7?
Yeah, well, like 4 or 5, you know, don't sell me short here. Yeah, so like, you know, if you could be like in a class, you could be just waiting for something to happen. I'm going to go find out how so-and-so voted and what that actually means for like future elections. You know, you can just build that up slowly over a few years. And
you're just destroying every notion that I had about like a high level predicted trader. You're young, you're likable, like you're not bitter about the world. How is that possible when you spend so much time doing politics?
Well, I suppose if you come at politics not from like a career point of view, but from a more data-oriented point of view or a more ideology-oriented point of view, it's easy to not get cynical. Like, I really don't want to get what I call like Washington brain or New York brain, where you sort of become one of these cynical feedback loops of people who work at the higher media institutions, stuff like that. You know, I got into politics and PredctIt because I like Bernie Sanders and I like maths. Uh-huh. And, you know, keeping those focuses at the forefront enables me to just like, you know, keep going and not get cynical, I guess.
Well, you sell it about as well as anyone. So we're gonna follow politics. We've got a new format, and we're gonna follow it this way, and hopefully it goes well. You award-winning listeners out there. But our first segment, we're gonna do fade or follow. And for those of you who aren't absolute gambling addicts, when you fade someone, that's when the market favors something, and you do the opposite. And when you follow a trade, it's when you look at where the action is and you say, I'm going to follow those people right into that bet at the same time. So we're going to kind of pass this one around the horn. But Sharko, I'm going to start with you here. So if you look at the predicted odds boards, the coronavirus has like really given Trump the coronavirus. I think he was as high as a 57% favorite to win election or re-election, I should say.
Yeah.
And now those odds are compressed to 50-50, and even in some markets well below that. And in the swing states, he is at a decided disadvantage. Are you following that trend of thinking Trump's a dog, or are you fading it?
I've been following that trend since pre-COVID. I think it's just that COVID has fully confirmed it for me. So I've always thought Trump is just completely fucked for re-election. Can we swear on here? I think we swear on here. That's how it
we
goes.
say whatever we want here.
Fucking brilliant. All right, so
it's only your face on the internet forever, Sharko.
I'll take the consequences. I've always thought Trump is just completely screwed for re-election. People tend to like overcomplicate it, you know, COVID this, immigration that. It's just, he's really unpopular. People don't like him. He's probably not going to win. But COVID really cements that, because like the one thing that he had going for him was the economy, and now that's going to go. So I'm completely on board with the idea that COVID just ruins Trump's chances, except for the idea that I kind of thought they were ruined already. So I'm completely against him on pretty much every market.
Sounds like some confirmation bias to me, Sharko. Pratik, fade or follow?
I entirely agree with that analysis, but with one caveat, which is that although I think Trump is a severe underdog, I think if he wins, he'll win by a comfortable margin, because I think the only path he has to victory is if Biden totally screws up in the presidential debates and people basically conclude he's not up to the job.
Yeah, it seems like Biden is now the X factor in this election.
Yeah. Tara Reid, you know?
Yeah.
I don't know how that's playing into things.
I put out what I'm sure to be like a really unpopular take this last week, which was that.
Oh, I saw that.
Yeah. Was it on? You're about to tell me it was unpopular with Sharko Rubio. That Tara Reid, like if Joe Biden's such a credible and such a likable guy, and if this is an election between two people who lack credibility, whether I'm not going to talk about what's true and what's not true, but just what people think, that's a bad place for Joe Biden to be fighting from.
Yeah, I mean, like I saw a poll that came out just today, which is nearly half of young Democrats think they should replace Biden as the nominee. So it's not even like necessarily they have to like Trump or think Trump's better than Biden. They just have to not come out to vote for him, which is a genuine thing that could definitely happen and cost him the election. I just tend to think it's probably not the most important thing relative to, say, COVID or Trump being unpopular. But if Biden ends up being a really crap candidate, it could swing things.
Well, so there you have it. Our panel of geniuses plus one guy with a microphone, that's me, are following that trend. Pratik, what do you got?
Well, I was going to do another one of these. What do you make of traders doubting Trump's ability to win in Florida and Georgia?
You want to take this one, Clean Dog, or will I?
I think that, here's what I think. I think that I don't really know how this election's going to go. And when I look at the odds that are, or at least the implied odds on PredctIt, my feeling is that people are like really operating on a regional level, and they're just like, well, you know, that state's south of Virginia and this state's north of Virginia, so I'm just going to bet the state that way. I think there's a lot of like intelligent guessing going on, and I don't have something particularly genius to say about who's going to be right at the end of the day.
I reckon, just to add to that, I think it's like the geography thing too, but just generally people have a huge historical bias in the sense that people will always look to the past instead of the future, because that's what they know,
right.
And that's what they feel safe. So like, if someone's been following politics for like since 2000, Wisconsin's gone Democrat every election except 2016. So even though it went for Trump in 2016, people are likely to assume Wisconsin's going to flip back because that's the political reality they grew up with and they know. So people are always going to have that sort of bias.
Yeah, I'm always astounded by how much people think that things have always been the same way. Like my favorite statistic is California, 12 years of Republican governors from 1943 to 1973. You know, Texas is the opposite, you know, Democratic leadership for most of its time. And stuff's always changing.
I'll throw out another factor in Georgia. There may be a short-term play here. if you believe that part of the market pricing has to do with people thinking that Stacey Abrams may be the running mate, I don't think she has a chance. I think she is overpriced. And so if you agree with that point, there may be an argument for buying up Biden in Georgia, and then when the VP is announced, selling off right there in the hopes that there's some kind of market reaction.
I'm long Stacey Abrams just because I want to sell for a marginal gain, but I would definitely fade that trend. I guess at the end of the day, I like Georgia to repeat, and I'm sorry, Trump to repeat in Georgia, and Florida is just playing with fire. I have no interest in that right now. Sharko, fade or follow Trump in the South?
See, I always get confused. Fade means I'm against, right? I don't know
right.
the fuck. I'm so bad at this. For the first 2
No,
years,
you're great at it.
I thought long meant short and short meant long in terms of what you're betting on. Got me really confused. Anyway,
well,
point is,
you usually win, so who cares?
I would say Trump underdog in both Georgia and Florida at this point.
Ooh, that's smoking hot.
Yeah, to me that's just like been my reality for the last couple of years that I've thought about. But I suppose the prices reflect that that's not conventional wisdom. If I had to summarize it quickly, I'd say that like these are states that are pretty diverse, relatively educated, and pretty urban, and so there's not a lot of reason for Trump to continue winning them if trends go as they are. Like basically, if Trump wants to keep winning those states, he's got to hope that things go back to how they were in like 2012 rather than keep moving forward as they are.
Well, we could do a whole podcast just on that, but there you have it. Georgia's the new Illinois for those of you who want to do bad metaphors. Sharko, you got a fade or follow?
I was just thinking in this sort of general trend, and this goes across a few markets, this idea of a non-Biden nominee / third-party nominees. Do we generally fade or follow them running for president? So we've already seen Justin Amash running, but Jesse Ventura, Hillary Clinton, Andrew Cuomo. Do we think these are people who, like, in any world would run for president in the next like few months?
I mean, Keen Dog's law with a heavy asterisk is always bet on someone to run for president.
Yeah.
It's been kind to me so far. Do I think it extends to Hillary Clinton? No, absolutely not. Do I own shares of Andrew Cuomo in case some weird like double black swan happens? Yes, I do. And you can make fun of me for that, but I do.
Maniac. I love the Andrew Cuomo trend. It's the funniest thing to me. It's all like it's the 40-year-old liberal woman in New York City who have outside influence in the media, like basically thirsting over him. And you know what? I respect it. He's kind of cute, but like he's not going to be president.
I should stipulate that I actually have him in vice president, not in president. That's my yeah.
Okay.
But it's still a little black swanny. It's still a little black helicoptery.
Because Biden has said he'll pick a woman, so necessarily, if Andrew Cuomo's VP, it's probably because Hillary ended up as the president. So you're like inadvertently betting on her.
Well, my feeling was actually going in a different direction. I bought those shares at the beginning of the coronavirus because I was like, well, if this is really bad and like we're in a wartime presidency, essentially, the rules are different. Like the promises that were made in spring do not exist in fall. And it doesn't seem like that's going to be the situation now, but I'm going to hold on to them because I'm a fucking psychopath.
Yeah, that's actually a pretty good argument because I mean, I wouldn't bet 99 cents that the VP is going to be a woman. I don't know if there's actually a market on that, but I think people overrate.
There is.
There is. Oh, really? Yeah. Maybe I should check that out then.
It's quite underpriced too.
Yeah, because I mean, Biden can renege on promises. He does that a lot. It's not necessarily something that's.
Well, who's to say he'll even remember what the coronavirus was in 3 months? Like, the dude is not firing on all cylinders. Pratik, you want to take the ball on this one? Or are you fading or following fringe and third-party candidates?
So definitely fade on Hillary and Cuomo. I don't think Biden is going to renege on his, just to respond to that point, on his pledge to appoint a woman. I think that would get him. I don't think he had any obligation whatsoever to pick a woman running mate, but now that he made the promise, I don't think he can go back on it. In terms of Amash and Ventura, as I wrote in the blog post, I think there's way too much insider trading happening in these markets to make an informed bet unless you really have a strong opinion. But I think that there are opportunities to make correlated bets that take advantage of people overestimating the role or impact that Amash and Ventura would have if they're in.
As always, an answer that is more sophisticated than my own brain.
I'm just wondering who the insiders are on like the Ventura camp. Like, who? Because I get it if you're like Justin Amash, you have some Washington insider friends, you tell them you're running for president, there's insider trading. But what isn't Jesse Ventura just one crazy guy on his own? Like, what is he even doing? How is that?
I mean, he's one broke crazy guy. So
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe he's pumping himself. Like,
Oh, yeah, he like legit. If someone is insider trading on Jesse Ventura and PredctIt, I would not be surprised if it was Jesse Ventura himself.
who do you think is the most likely trader? I would say like maybe John H, that like Trumpy froggy guy. He would probably be my pick to secretly be Jesse Ventura.
I think Jesse Ventura is funnier than that guy. I've seen him around for a few years. I'd pick someone a black horse. I don't know. Like if I hadn't seen his face, I'd say like Gypsy.
Pollo.
Oh, Pollo. Yes, absolutely Pollo. His obsession
All right.
with just reeks of Jesse Ventura. Don't know why.
It started here. Pollo is Jesse Ventura. Let's get it out.
Well, in all seriousness, I mean, there are actually pretty involved networks of people who are into like Kennedy assassination conspiracy theories. Like there's an annual conference, I believe, and then there are the 9/11 truthers. And so like I don't run in those circles, but it wouldn't surprise me at all if those people are kind of in the know somehow.
Yeah. I mean, it's amazing the information people betting on politics can drudge up, whether it's true or not is subject for conversation. All right, one more of these and we're going to move on to the next segment. Trump, also a big dog in the West, usually a Republican stronghold. Nevada and Arizona seemingly going the way of California, at least for the time being. Sharko, are you fading or following the trend that Republicans are just going to get nuked in Nevada and Arizona?
I feel like I'm going to be a bit repetitive here. You want me maybe to say something more controversial, but you know what? I think Trump's completely fucked there. Main reason being that his campaign seems to be wholly fixated on this idea that they can win over Latino voters when they just simply can't. Like, if he wants to win Arizona, he's got to get huge turnout with those rural whites. But they keep chasing this mythical pony of the Republican Latino voter, and Latinos just keep moving more left. Arizona gets more Hispanic every year. It's basically like a lost cause for Republicans at this point. I would say Trump is a heavy underdog in both of those states.
Pratik, fade or follow?
Yeah, I agree with that. Before we move on, I wanted to throw one more in there. Given how bearish you are on Trump in Georgia, do you have a view on the Senate races there? Right now, the markets are heavily favoring Republicans in both of them.
Oh, that's an interesting one. I guess part of it depends on whether or not you think Jon Ossoff, the sort of legendary cuck of the 2017 Georgia special election, is actually like just a total loser, or whether or not he was just in the wrong place at the wrong time. The special election, I hold more hope though, because Raphael Warnock seems like a cool black candidate on the Democrat side who maybe get turnout up there, and the whole Doug Collins, Kelly Loeffler thing seems to just be a complete shit show for the Republican Party. But at the end of the day, if Trump's losing Georgia, there's a decent shot they lose the Senate races there too, just because of Trump losing Georgia.
And so I take it from that comment, you also regard Ossoff to be the heavy favorite to win the primary?
Wouldn't necessarily say heavy favorite because I don't know enough about him, but I think the fact that he raised an unbelievable amount of money and got a huge national profile in 2017 means there's probably a lot of people who'll just cast a ballot for him because they know who he is, which in these not super contested primaries is quite an advantage.
Yeah,
I'd certainly like to see him be the nominee. Ossoff posting was fun in 2017.
I mean, I get the feeling that the way that the Trump camp is approaching this election is I'm a little bit on the other side of you, Sharko, on the, like, it's hopeless for Republicans to appeal to Latinos. I mean, you do see these like bright spots. I remember seeing a poll in Nevada that like 40% of Latino men were down with Trump, which I don't know what that means, but that they're hoping to just peel off enough people to win these races on the margins. But that's certainly not a sustainable strategy going forward.
Yeah. I mean, arguably appealing to Latinos is the right move given that they're a growing population. It's just you can't keep appealing to Latinos while not supporting policies that Latinos like. So you can't really try and say we're going to flip New Mexico blue with Hispanic Republicans or whatever, and then say we're going to build a wall. Like, it just doesn't add up.
Yeah, it's not. It's but as I would think in the course of American history, as immigrant groups become more prevalent in the country, they become stratified, and the kind of one track, the way we present different voting blocks in this country as all being of the same mind will sort of cease to be the case. But
Yeah.
I wouldn't be super bullish on that. All right, we're gonna move on to would you rather. Would you rather eat 100 burritos or butt chug a cooler of Kool-Aid? We're going to give you two terrible options, and you can pick the least bad of the two. All right, Sharko, would you rather max out on Trump winning the popular vote or max out on Republican candidate Mike Garcia beating Christy Smith in California 25? That's the old Buck McKeon seat.
Oh my god, you had me really worried with the Trump popular vote one. I thought the other one was going to be awful, and I was going to have to like shoot myself or something. Definitely Garcia. So much. Like I would, if this is the option, I'll double max Garcia. Like not even close.
Do you think he can win that seat back, or do you think that that's still just a complete apocalyptic awful?
I mean, like the thing about California's 25th is, unlike a lot of other seats Democrats have in that area, the Democrat base isn't like educated white voters. It's Hispanics and young people who tend to not turn out so much. So in a low tax special election, can totally go Republican. Trump winning the popular vote, on the other hand, never bet on that in a million years. I'm pretty sure against that.
That's not going to happen. I mean, the margins that he'll turn out against him in California and New York alone, the last time, is not going to happen.
I try not to have like a lot of things which I firmly hold to be true 100% and won't ever change on, but I'm very close to 100% on the idea that America will never vote for Trump on a popular vote level. I mean, electoral college maybe, but like never on a popular vote.
Yeah, I mean, like what? I think the Republicans, by the way, like full disclosure, I used to work for them. I think they've won one election by popular vote since H.W. Bush.
Yeah, and that was his son being a popular wartime president, and he still only narrowly won.
Yeah. But I mean, I'm like, frankly, like, again, going back to where we started, like, I'm sort of the mind that whatever trends we're talking about now will be very different in 20 years.
Yeah.
So, we'll see.
5 years, who knows?
Pratik looks like he's dumped us, so maybe we'll hear from him later. But
probably found a better podcast.
Yeah, well, that's not hard to do. Sharko, would you rather be holding Trump to win Maine's 2nd congressional district? This is the very, very tempestuous one that's inland from the bougie shore, or Nebraska's 2nd, which I believe is the Western district that used to be Lee Terry's old seat, but now is a true Obama. What do we call them? Obama-Trump district, something like that. I don't know. Anyway, heavily contested.
I'm actually, interesting you asked me this, because I'm probably way off on either side of the conventional wisdom on either of these. I reckon Maine's 2nd district, way better to hold Trump. Rural, conservative, not college educated, like entirely white.
Old.
Really old. Although actually the old thing is sort of throwing a wrench in the works, I guess, because you've got recent data showing Biden's doing really well with old people. But I guess it doesn't matter if they all die of COVID anyway, so I'm not sure. But,
and dead people are a very loyal voting bloc for Democrats.
Oh, yeah,
so
exactly,
like that could be terrible.
It's almost better because you don't just get one vote, you get 3 or whatever the crazy PredctIt commenters.
Whoever's editing this needs to take this part.
Can we have a big like text that says sarcasm up on the YouTube? Yeah, I don't want this being taken out of context in 20 years.
No, but it's true. It's like, I don't know why it's wrong to talk about political corruption. It's a thing, and you got to plan for it in this game. It's so funny.
But and you've sort of got a wild card. I don't know.
Hey, Pratik's back.
Hola.
Sorry, my computer froze up.
Pratik, we're talking about those bogus Maine and Nebraska, the 2 swing districts in the Electoral College, the Lee Terry seat in Western Nebraska and the rural fucking old people one in Maine. You got a hot take on this? Do you think Trump can win both of them again?
I actually have no idea about those. I haven't dug into them yet.
Okay, well, Sharko is about to hit us with he says that we are going to get some contrarian content here.
So Maine's 2nd district, I think you'll find is like 70 cents to go Trump on PredctIt.
Yeah.
If I was in complete control of those prices, then I would probably put it more like 97, 98, honestly. in terms of how conservative it is. The fact that it voted Democrat up until 2012 is insane, and like it's not going back. And you've also got this weird wild card of the French-speaking people in way northern Maine, and they actually are the biggest concentration of conservative Democrats in all of America. Like, you think conservative Democrats, you think West Virginia. Those people are all Trump supporters now. You want to know like who the real conservative people are that Trump can flip in this election? It's northern Maine, which you don't really never hear about.
New England politics are so weird for me as someone who's never lived there. Like, I don't get it. And I just try not to ever bet on an election in New England. It's like 500 years of weird to me.
Yeah. I mean, I've never fully understood why Vermont is so liberal. The best explanation.
But it elects Republican governors. It's like the opposite of the South. It's weird. It's weird.
Yeah. But then those Republican governors can't pass any bills because the Democrats have supermajority. So it's kind of like they're electing just a sort of figurehead, like a guy who just goes around and says, I'm the governor, and can't really do anything.
I couldn't have said it better. You are welcome here any day. Pratik.
So touched.
You got any in your quiver?
Yeah. So for would you rather buy Democrats to win Texas in the presidential, or Democrats to win more than 241 House seats?
Ooh.
They're priced about the same on PredctIt right now.
Well, you got me there now. See, the thing is, I always forget how many House seats Democrats have right now, so I can never really properly remember whether or not they're going to pick up more. They have like 235. That sound right?
Let's see. Total Dem House seats.
Please tell me my trivia. I'm going to be so embarrassed.
I mean, it sounds about right. Like, it sounds like a more than narrow majority. 233.
Oh, okay.
Sharko. Ice in your veins.
Oh my God, I'm going to have to leave in shame. So we're talking about 6 extra seats for the Democrats versus flipping Texas, right? I would probably take Texas over the 6 extra seats, just because Democrats got most of their easy gains that they could in 2018, and they're going to lose a few of their tougher to defend seats, even if they're winning really well. Texas, though, big believer of blue Texas. That's like my whole shtick. If you've ever listened to me about politics ever, you'll have heard me ramble about blue Texas. It's a real thing, I promise.
Man, bear pay.
It's trading around 25% for the Democrats. Where would you put the actual odds on that?
Probably close to 50-50, in the sense that it's still by no means a blue state. Like, blue Texas, as a phrase, is kind of a joke. But when Biden's winning by as much as he is right now, it's a decent shot to go blue. Toss up is about right.
I mean, I almost feel like these things would have to go together, because I don't know how many more seats there are left for Democrats to win in like suburban Chicago and suburban. There's Georgia 7. That could be, but you really got to look in the Southwest, I would think, to find winnable congressional seats for the Democrats.
Texas almost has an insane number of them because Republicans really shot themselves in the foot. They were like, what if we split Austin into 6 different Republican seats? And then they didn't anticipate the possibility that all 6 would flip Republican, which would flip Democrat, which is, in my mind, just the stupidest way you could possibly gerrymander a state. But, that's
it'll be really interesting to see. I mean, this is like a really trite take, but whether this is like this couple of years is an aberration or like a new normal for politics. But if it's an aberration or a new normal, like, I don't even know what the point of the Republican Party is after losing the upcoming election, which makes me frown.
I mean, the main thing I'm going to be interested to see is if Republicans start losing Texas long term, like they lose it this November, maybe lose it in 2024 too. That really screws them the Electoral College long term. So I wonder whether they might even start calling to abolish the Electoral College just because they can't win without it. Like, that's one of the things.
I mean, I'm a little. I don't. I guess I just take everything with like a measure of who the fuck cares. Like, all of these, like, you make a big tent for one party, like, people are going to be pissed off that they're sharing the tent with that many people. They're going to go join the other party. Like, there's something coming that no one here is thinking about, and when it does, it's going to be different. And whatever, I'll go fucking smoke a blunt until that happens.
Good attitude.
So in the presidential, how high do you think this blue wave goes? It sounds like even if Texas, Georgia, et cetera, you're thinking Biden may win. Where does that leave you with places like Iowa, and then I guess if you go even further, maybe Missouri, places like that, that most people are not regarding yet as being swing.
Don't even Missouri, not even close. Like, Missouri will never vote for Biden in a bajillion years, in my view. Like, the thing Trump said in 2015 about how he could walk onto Fifth Avenue and shoot someone and half of his supporters would still vote for him. I think he could walk into like anywhere in Missouri and shoot someone and he'd still win its electoral votes. That's how red those states are that you're talking. Iowa, maybe, but again, big Trump advantage, I reckon, just because of how much he won it by last time and how rural it is.
Well, I'm interested to hear you talk about it because I just don't have you have such a nose for data that it's embarrassing to look at how young you are and see how much more clued in you are. But like the cultural trends, it's hard to see what the difference is between those states. We've got time for one more. Sharko, do you have a devil's proposition? Do you have a would you rather?
Well, again, I've got kind of a theme with this because it's something that's really been fascinating me recently. But would you take, if you're having a non-Biden Democratic nominee, would you rather bet on Bernie to be the nominee, or would you rather bet on anyone other than Bernie or Biden
to win the election, or to just be the nominee?
Be the nominee. So if it's not Biden, would you rather bet on Bernie, or would you rather bet on the rest, like Harris, Klobuchar, whoever?
I'd take the field.
Yeah.
I look like this. It always gets me in trouble with with Team Bernie. I think every political constituency thinks that they're the key to winning an election and they're the most important constituency. And without fail, like no constituency is really the key. So I think the Bernie bros overstate their importance and overestimate their importance. And I think at the end of the day, the DNC would find a way to not have him be the nominee once again.
I probably agree with you. I mean, like, I'm an egotistical Bernie bro. I think the world revolves around us, but like, you're right. And from a purely data, like fact-oriented point of view, you're right. And I hate to say it.
Well, I look forward to you dunking on me on Twitter for hating on Bernie in the future then. Pratik, what do you think?
I might actually take the opposite side of that. I think part of it depends on whether or not Biden picks a running mate in the interim. But it looks like that process is going to get delayed. It doesn't look like Biden is in any particular rush to pick a running mate. But you figure that he's basically going to pick one of two types of running mates. Either it's going to be someone who already ran in the primary and didn't do particularly well, or it could be someone who doesn't have all that much of a national following, at least not one that's demonstrated. And, at the end of the day, I mean, Bernie came very, very close, I think, to getting the nomination. I mean, were the field not fractured on Super Tuesday in a weird way, if he had won Texas, I mean, there were any number of things that could have happened to make this a live race. I think Bernie would have a highly credible argument to be making for why he should be the nominee. And I think a lot of Democrats who were and remain sort of on the fence between him and Biden would have to think that Bernie has more of a mandate for the nomination than anyone else.
I mean, I guess I can't I can't dispute that. It's a good take, whatever. I feel like we'll have a new generation of people after this election, though. I mean, I think that the Cuomos and the Newsoms and the kind of COVID warriors will be a generation that leapfrogs over the kind of cool kids clique in the Senate that pisses off as many people as it brings into the tent.
I think that's definitely right. I think people are going to remember what happened in, like, who did a good job during COVID for decades to come. I think Jay Inslee is another one, Andy Beshear, the kind of Democrat governors who just sort of knuckled down and just got on with it and did a good job, are definitely going to be like future presidential contenders.
Dude, no person in politics has fallen upward. No, actually, one person has fallen upwards more than Jay Inslee, and that's Mike Pence. But like, I think Jay Inslee pulled at 1% for a reason. But what do I know? I'm a bro with a podcast. Last pearls. It's time to say goodbye to your fans, everyone. Pratik, you got any last pearls?
I'll throw out one more question. Ohio, which way in the presidential?
We're running out of time. I'll just say Trump.
Trump. You're done being a swing state? Those days are gone?
Exit stage right.
Clean and cold, like a good killing right there. Sharko, last pearls. You got anything? You want to just give them your Twitter handle, or you want to give some genius too?
Well, my Twitter handle is @politicalkiwi, but can I say something? Can I be mean and say something that directly contradicts someone else you've had on your website / podcast?
Fire away, bro. That's what we're about.
I was a high school debater. I kind of got to do this rebuttal type thing.
Yeah.
Don't always sell at 90. Sell at what your shares are worth. So like, there's this rule going around. Yeah, controversy. You're gonna like this. It's a feud. No, I love Ice Savage. I think he's a great guy. But this rule that he sort of propagated, and I think a lot of people buy into it. Always sell at 90. No real reason for it. Like if your shares are worth 80, sell them at 80. If your shares are worth 99, sell them at 99. Like I've made a lot of my money on PredctIt from betting on things at 90, because there are people out there who will sell things at 90 when they're really worth like 100.
I mean, that's like the Wall Street heavy hitter right there. It's like, if you know what shit is worth, you're going to make a fuck ton more money than someone who doesn't. I don't really know what it's worth a lot of times, so I'll just sell when it gets close to 90 and get my blood pressure down a little bit.
I always like the Wolf of Wall Street analogy, just because it means that if I'm Leonardo DiCaprio, then whoever I'm working with is Jonah Hill, and that's a fun comparison to make.
Yeah, plenty of drugs to go around too. Let's fucking do some Quaaludes.
Tossing.
I have nothing to add. I have a blog. I write on it too much. Sometimes my takes are good. Sometimes they're bad. It's up to you to figure out. If you do like this content, if Sharko has driven our level of play to a sufficiently high level, check out www.starspangledgamblers.com/support. We love this podcast. It's our favorite thing we do. Our girlfriends are constantly dumping us because of it. And all of that is because we're having so much fun. So check it out if you've got talents, if you've got insights, if you're willing to make a contribution. We're trying to crank these out twice a week from now until eternity, or until one of us or all of us dies. And you can find me at KeenDog on Twitter. Anyone want to kiss the team goodbye?
Thanks for having me on, guys.
Sharko, wait for the camera, Sharko. Say hi, Sharko. The camera's not on.
Oh, wait, what's going on?
You're saying goodbye. Say goodbye.
All right, bye everyone. God, I'm awkward.
This is the face of the person who takes your money, Sharko. Pratik, good night. Say good night.
Good night.
Look at that smile. Worth $1 million. All right, guys, if you're still with us, thank you. This is Star Spangled Gamblers.